All right, let's talk about something. There's this phrase we all use, third world. We throw it around all the time, and we all kind of nod like we know exactly what it means. But what if I told you that whole idea, it's a lie, that the story you think you know is completely wrong?
So, do me a favor, just for a second. When I say the words third world, what's the very first image that flashes in your mind? For most of us, it's probably something kind of like this.
Is it poverty, a lack of resources, people struggling to get by?
Or maybe it's a sense of chaos, political instability, conflict, things feeling out of control.
Or maybe just a general feeling of being behind, less modern, less developed, kind of stuck in the past.
Look, if any of that sounds familiar, you're not alone. That is the common understanding for sure. But here's the twist. That common understanding is based on a total historical blunder. The original meaning had absolutely nothing to do with any of that.
To get to the truth, we need to jump in a time machine. We have to go back. Because the real story isn't about economics or development. It's a political story, born right in the heat of the Cold War.
So check this out. It all starts back in 1951 with a French demographer, a guy named Alfred Sauvy. He comes up with this phrase, le tiers-monde. That's French for the third world. And he was using it to describe how the planet was splitting into these two massive opposing camps.
And the world back then was pretty simple, right? It was basically split into two giant teams. On one side, you had the first world. That was the US and its capitalist allies. On the other side, you had the second world, the Soviet Union and its communist allies. The two big superpowers staring each other down.
But then you had this huge group of other countries. Many of them were brand new, just getting their independence from colonial rule. And they looked at this big standoff and basically said, yeah, no thanks. We're not picking a side in your fight. They chose to be non-aligned. They were the original third world. It was a political statement, not an economic one.
So you're probably asking, okay, if it was political, how did it end up meaning poor? Well, it's kind of simple. A lot of those non-aligned countries were economically developing at the time. So over the decades, the meaning just drifted. It got twisted. And using it that way today, it causes some massive problems. Three big ones in particular.
Let's just break down the three huge mistakes we're making when we use that old, dusty label in our modern world.
Okay, mistake number one, and it's a big one. The world that created the term is gone. The Cold War ended over 30 years ago. The second world, the Soviet bloc, doesn't even exist anymore. Using first and third world today is literally like calling your smartphone a horseless carriage. The context has completely vanished, and the economic map has been totally redrawn. I mean, just look at these numbers. Qatar and Singapore were historically part of that non-aligned third world group. Today, their GDP per capita is literally double that of France, a classic first world country. The old assumptions are just wrong.
Mistake number two, it's a stereotype machine. It's a lazy label that just mashes together hundreds of completely different countries, from Argentina to Malaysia to Ghana, under this single negative umbrella. It erases their unique cultures, their complex economies, and their rich histories. It blinds you to what's really there.
And that leads to the third, and maybe the most dangerous mistake. The term creates an us versus them mentality. It's a kind of social distancing. It divides the world cleanly into the developed and the undeveloped, which makes it way too easy to ignore how interconnected we all are, and to justify massive inequalities.
So here's the real kicker. By clinging to this old, busted label, we are literally blinding ourselves to some of the most amazing stories of progress and innovation happening on the planet right now. Let's look at what we're missing.
Okay, how about Estonia? It used to be part of the Soviet Second World. Today, it's one of the most wired, digitally advanced societies on Earth. We're talking online voting, e-residency, it's a global tech powerhouse.
Or take Vietnam. It has completely transformed into a global manufacturing giant. You know that fancy new phone in your pocket? There's a good chance it was made in a factory in Vietnam. Its story today is one of incredible economic growth.
And then there's Kenya. Forget the tired old stereotypes. We're talking about the Silicon Savannah, a buzzing tech hub that pioneered mobile money technology that the rest of the world, including the West, is now copying.
Okay, so I hear you. If third world is out, what should we say instead? What's the right way to talk about the world's diverse economies without falling into these old traps?
Well, you've got options, and they're way more accurate. You can say developing countries or emerging economies. If you're talking specifically about money, low-income nations works. But you want to know the best option?
The absolute gold standard? Just say the country's name. It's always more powerful and more accurate to say Brazil or Indonesia than some vague, one-size-fits-all label.
Because at the end of the day, that's what this is all about. Using a term like third world is, well, it's intellectual laziness. It's a comfortable shortcut that lets us put a huge, complicated, amazing part of the world into a tiny little box, and it just isn't accurate anymore.
So what's the big takeaway here? The world isn't divided into 3 neat boxes. It never really was. And if we really want to understand its beautiful complexity, we have to start with the words we choose to use. Because real development, it doesn't just happen out there. It starts right here, when we develop the way we see the world.